I think our team is pretty excited about Friday night. Obviously, we have great respect for Utah State because they're playing really, really well. What they did to Boise State last week is pretty impressive. So we know it's going to be quite a challenge, but again, it's an opportunity too. We've been playing pretty well the last 3 weeks also, so it ought to be a good game. I hope a lot of people come out and watch it.
Rocky, is this the best Mountain West defense maybe you're going to play against?
Probably what we're going to play against, since we don't play Boise this year. Boise has an outstanding defense also, but Utah State's really good on defense. They've been good on defense for a long time. Probably the last 3 or 4 years they've been really good on defense. I compare their front seven. They've got about 3 outstanding linebackers, and their defensive line's really strong. Their front seven reminds me of Penn State's. And we had a really hard time moving the ball against Penn State, so they're good on defense.
Rocky, I didn't see the game film, but 8 turnovers. Were those all just forced by the defense? Was it weather-related? How do you explain 8 turnovers in the game?
I don't think you can. I don't think it was weather-related, but some of it was the defense punched a couple balls out. The pressure on the quarterback made him throw a couple passes that were intercepted because they were overthrown. Most of the turnovers were caused by the defense. That's Utah State's good on defense, and I've been in games like that. Sometimes when the avalanche starts, there's no stopping it, and that's kind of what happened in that game.
Will you be doing anything to talk to the offensive players about being maybe ultra aware of their ability to strip the ball?
Not any different than we do every week. I mean, we talk about ball security every week, every single day. Our receivers and our running backs and quarterbacks go through ball security drills every single day in practice, so not any more than we normally do. I will bet Boise State does that too.
Rocky, is Maxwell Smith, based on the last 3 weeks, kind of turned the corner in terms of confidence and just settling in and making the plays he has to?
Well, I think you can ask him. I think he's up. He's going to be in here in a little while. I think that his confidence level's gone up. I think he continues to improve, and he seems to be improving every week. And last week he was better than he was the week before, and he's doing a nice job of getting us in to the right protections, getting us into the right running plays. He's throwing the deep ball really well when somebody's open. And I think the last 2 weeks he's thrown the intermediate balls a little bit better than he was at the start. So I'm sure he's more confident and he's playing more efficiently.
Well, important game, Rocky. Talk about playing on Friday night. What do you like about playing Friday night?
Let me try to find something. I think playing on Friday night gives you a huge TV audience. Since we play late on Friday night, there'll be a lot of people that are football fans that have no association with Utah State or San Diego State, but they're football fans, and they'll be tuning in and watching the game, which is a real advantage if you play well. It's probably the biggest TV audience that we'll have this year. So if you play well, there's some huge advantages to it in recruiting, in fan attendance later on in the season. I mean, there's some huge advantages. If you don't play well, there's some huge disadvantages to it too, because there's more people watching you than normal. So it's a give and take situation. I mean, I'd rather play every game at 1:30 on Saturday afternoon if you want my preference.
High school football should be on Friday, college should be on Saturday. I'm guessing you still feel that way?
Well, that's tradition, and I think I'm a believer in tradition, and I think that's the way it should be, but I don't have say-so, and TV pays a lot of money to determine on when you play and where you play and who you play, and I'm for that too. I'm for that too, since they're the ones that decide that for the revenue. I mean, you have to believe in that also.
What do you not like about playing on Friday night? Shorter week?
Well, this week it's because we got one less practice day than they do. And I'm a great believer in if you practice well, you play well. And the more days you have of practice, the better prepared you are for the game. Also, the more rested you are for the game. So you're healthier. You got one extra day of preparation. I think there's some advantages to that. Now we play at home, and hopefully that's an advantage for us, playing at home.
So how do you have to shrink your week, Rocky? What gets left out a little bit, or?
One of our hard days of practice is completely eliminated. One of our days that we practice in half pads, and we actually go one offense against one defense some of the practice, and two offense, two defense some of the practice. We have to eliminate one of those days completely. So obviously we're not as prepared as we normally would be in a normal week.
Is that essentially Thursday is getting eliminated?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays are our hard practices. We go longer and we're in pads. And so today is Wednesday, and somebody left out Tuesday as far as week preparation for the game.
You like the way the Mountain West Conference is set up for the championship game? I mean, you're playing a team that you could very well meet again.
I'd take that right now.
Yeah.
If someone says we're in the championship game and we have to play Utah State again, I'd say, okay, let's go. I'm not worried about what happens to the championship game unless we qualify.
What about just getting the home field advantage? I'm sure that's important too, right?
I mean, that's no big deal. Getting there is a big deal. Getting to the championship game is a big deal. Where it's played is no big deal.
Rocky, to the practical aspect of if you were to beat them head-to-head, they have the win over Boise, but you've beaten them head-to-head. In the football ranking part of it, where do you think all that should be weighed, the head-to-head versus other games that you didn't even have a chance to play Boise?
Well, how about we hold this discussion till later on in the season when it matters, because it doesn't make a darn bit of difference now to either team. All we are is 3-0 in the conference, which means we both have 5 more conference games to play. We could end up on the bottom. Even though we're on the top right now, we could end up on the bottom. So let's talk about that if it becomes a reality.
You haven't just said that. 5 games left. You all of a sudden have this 2-game lead in the loss column. Is this, I don't want to use a soccer analogy with you, but they talk about 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead. Is this a dangerous lead right now for you guys?
I haven't even thought about it. I know we're number 1 on our side of the bracket, and I know they're number 1 on their side of the bracket. That's all I've thought about. I mean, there's a lot of football to be played. Just like we said after the 3rd week of the season, there's a lot of football left to be played. So I don't know what a 2-game lead or a 2-goal lead means. Just means right now we're in first place, and I'd like to stay there, but we got a lot of football, and we're playing an excellent football team this week.
You think the makeup of this team, it's got quite a bit of experienced leadership. Do you think the makeup of this particular team of yours will help keep this team focused?
Oh, I don't think there's any issue with us being ready to play mentally or emotionally. We'll be ready to play. I have some question on assignment-wise whether we'll be as ready to play as they are because of the one less day of practice. I'm concerned about that. I'm not concerned at all about our emotional readiness to play. Our kids were excited that as soon as we got on the bus to go to get on the airplane after San Jose because they had seen the game between Boise State and Utah State, and they know how good Utah State is. So as soon as we beat San Jose State, our kids were excited about this game on Friday night. So emotionally, there's no issues whatsoever with us being ready. Now, I am concerned that might blow an assignment or two that we wouldn't normally blow that ends up a big play for them. I am concerned about that, yes.
Is Myers more dangerous running whatever they're running versus throwing out of
He's just as dangerous doing both. He's a great ball carrier with the ball, and he's really, really fast. It's the best team speed that we'll play against since California. They've got great speed at receiver. They got great speed at quarterback. They're big and strong and athletic in the offensive line. They are unique on offense, and they block schemes purposely so the quarterback can carry the football. Where he runs power plays, he runs sweep plays with lead blockers, he runs counter plays with lead blockers. All the time they're sending guys in motion to give a fly sweep look. All the time they're zone reading with the running back, so everybody plays the zone read, and then the quarterback comes out of there with two guys leading them around the other side. They're very unique on offense, and it's all about getting the quarterback a chance to carry the ball no matter what you do on defense.
What's the state of the no Pumphrey? I know we saw him against Hawaii, and he put up some good numbers in that game. How is he this week?
I think he's 100%. Now, a running back is always beat up a little bit this time of year. As much as he carries the ball and gets the ball in his hands, he's beat up a little bit, like all running backs would be, but he's as good as any guy that's carried the ball as much as he has.
Ron, you did get a sense maybe over the course of the last 3 weeks that your own team has maybe forged its own identity and maybe is living up to whatever those expectations were that people had for you before the season started?
I don't know how to address that, but I'll do it this way. Even when people were concerned about our football team and how we were playing, our players never changed. Just like they didn't change yesterday. I mean, this is a big game this week. They know it. Everybody in the world knows it that cares about our football team. Everybody knows. But they haven't changed. They're going about business the exact same way they did the second week of the season, the fourth week of the season, and now they're going about it the same way. We have really good kids in our program. And some of them aren't kids. We have some really good men in our program, too, that have the ability to keep working hard no matter what the situation is. And that's why they are where they are right now.
What's still the biggest need of improvement you're looking for out of this team? Is there anything in particular?
You're always looking to improve, right? I'd like to continue to run the ball as well as we're running it against a team of the quality of Utah State. I mean, they're going to put the best front seven we've seen in a long time up there against us. And I'd like to be able to run the ball even against a good opponent. That was one thing. I'd like to be able to control their running game, which is so unique that the extra day of practice would have really helped because it is unique. So obviously we can get better at everything we do.
So you see it's unique, and you see how the quarterback, who's almost like a wildcat quarterback sometimes, does that mean on the scout team you might have, Juwan Washington or someone else play the role as the quarterback?
No, we have a freshman quarterback named Ryan Agnew, that comes out of a spread offense out of high school and throws it pretty well and can really run well with the football, so we didn't have to make up a guy that runs with it good.
Rocky, I asked you about Trey Lomax the other day, and you said he felt about 80% last week. If you were to say that he was 100%, would you stick him in there right away, given how the defense is playing?
Would he play? Yes, he would play. Would he start? No, he wouldn't start. But he would play. And it's funny you asked that, and I don't know how this age group knows this, and I don't know how they decide this, but I said, okay, last week you were 80%. Yesterday, as he's jogging out to practice, I said, what are you right now? And he said 92.5%. And I have no idea how they figure that out, but he was positive he was 92.5%. But he looked better in practice yesterday than he did last week, so there's a chance he could play this week.
Did Darrell Green look better or worse than 92.5% on Saturday?
I think Jarrell made a significant difference in how our offensive line played. Mostly because, first of all, he's physically gifted, but mostly because when you're inexperienced in the offensive line and the other team game plans against you, they will give you something that you haven't seen before or haven't practiced against. So an inexperienced offensive lineman will really struggle with something that they haven't practiced against. Where a veteran offensive lineman that has played as much as Darrell has, they gave him a little something different, and guess what? He's seen it before, so he reacted correctly and blocked some things we wouldn't have blocked with inexperienced offensive line. Now, he's also physically gifted, too. I mean, he's strong and he's big and all that, too.
Got me concerned about the way San Jose State scored the other night was basically 3 or 4 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties against you guys that helped them down the field. You obviously want your team to be keen and fired up and playing with a lot of verve. So how do you coach that fine line heading into this game? Because you can't make mistakes like that, obviously, against a team like Utah State. Or I wouldn't assume.
That's a age-old question.
Yeah.
I mean, you can coach to the point that they're overly careful so they don't make aggressive plays because they're so concerned about making those mistakes, they don't play with the energy and the effort and the emotion that you want them to play with. You can coach that right out of them if you worry about it too much. So when they make those mistakes, obviously you make the point on how it affects the team and how it hurts the team's chances to win and all of those sort of things. But I would rather have them on the edge than not on the edge, if that makes sense. You can't play good defense unless you're on the edge. Now, in the perfect scenario, they'd be mature enough not to make dumb mistakes. I mean, I'm 65 years old and I still make dumb mistakes, so I would much rather have them on the edge than not on the edge, even though we try to coach that they don't make those mistakes.
You mentioned Utah State and their defense and how they play well. Are they the same way? Are they aggressive, or are they more just well coached and make tackles? I mean, how would you describe it?
I would say they're very talented and very aggressive and very physical. Now, this will be interesting because I don't usually look at the penalty in our league. I don't usually look at which teams are penalized the most. But I'm guessing from experience, if you go look on that list and pick out the top 3 or 4 defenses in our league and look at the penalties, I would guess that they're the most penalized teams too. I'm just guessing. I haven't looked at that. Who's got the stats? I'd love to know.
That's really
Mike?
Take a look at it after.
Because normally in 16 years or something I've been a head coach, I look at those at the end of the season, and if you look at the top 10 defenses in the country, normally 6 or 7 of them are the most penalized defenses in the country, or defensive or teams in the country too. So I think it's a delicate balance.
Seems like been a lot of talk here about Utah State's defense, but I don't think anybody in the nation's given up fewer yards in the month of October than yours. I mean,
That's one of Mike's stats, right?
numbers are numbers, but you got to admit you're playing pretty well on that side of the ball.
And we've got 2 more games in October.
Right.
And I haven't looked at Colorado State on film, but Utah State's the most skilled team we've played against, athletic and skilled team on offense that we've played against since the University of California. So they present some problems. And I'm going to give it one more time. there's a chance of us making assignment errors that we don't normally make this week.
You've also played in the past 3 weeks 3 offenses that are kind of pretty
Very similar,
Is
yes.
that-
That's a concern too. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because that's something the defense can maybe rely on, but now that option really isn't there where you're
Mm-hmm.
used to recognizing this.
That's exactly right. I mean, we've played 3 offenses that are very, very similar over the last 3 weeks. And now we're playing one that lines up and looks similar with the way they line up, but the way they run their offense, the plays they run are completely different. And then when you add your quarterback as a primary ball carrier, that adds an extra blocker too. They get an extra blocker.
Rocky, with the matchup being what it is, do you expect a bigger turnout from the fans?
I don't know what to expect. I hope so. I hope we get a big crowd, and I hope they're all for us, because that's the one advantage we have is we're playing at home. And if you get a good crowd that's very supportive, they get you through some bad times. Just the energy in the building gets you through some bad times. So I hope so. But I also know there's a lot of people that come watch us that are high school football fans too, and have connections to young men that play high school football. So I think that's an issue too. So I hope they come.